The cold water reached Pippa's knees. She stepped deeper into the lake, her worn chemise clinging to her legs. The morning sun had barely risen. No one would see her here. No one ever came to this part of the estate. She needed to wash. Her stepmother had thrown a bucket of slop water on her yesterday. The smell had followed her through the night. Her room in the attic had no basin. The servants were forbidden to help her. This hidden lake was her only option. Pippa sank into the water with a soft gasp. It was cold, but clean. She scrubbed at her arms and face. Her dark hair floated around her shoulders. For just a moment, she felt almost human again. She did not hear the horse approaching through the trees. She did not see the man who stopped at the edge of the clearing. She did not know that Nathaniel Blackwood, the Duke of Ravenswood, had come to his country estate to escape London. She did not know he rode out each morning to avoid his empty house. She did not know he was watching her now. "Who are you?" His voice cut through the morning silence. Pippa's heart stopped. She spun in the water, her arms crossing over her chest. A man sat on a massive black horse. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in dark riding clothes. His face was hard as stone. His grey eyes were cold as the water around her. I'm sorry," she stammered. Her teeth began to chat. "I didn't know anyone would be here." "This is my land." His voice was deep and harsh. "My lake, my water." "Please, I'll leave." Pippa backed toward the shore where her dress lay. "I meant no harm." "Stop." The command froze her in place. He dismounted from his horse. His boots hit the ground with authority. He walked to the water's edge. "Answer my question. Who are you?" "Pippa Thornwell, Your Grace." She recognized him now. Everyone knew the Duke of Ravenswood. He rarely came to his country estate. When he did, he kept to himself. People said he was cold. They said his heart had died with his young wife 3 years ago. "Thornwell." He said the name like it tasted bitter. "You're related to Lady Margaret Thornwell?" "She's my stepmother." "I see." His eyes travelled over her, not with desire, but with assessment. "She lives in the manor house at the edge of my property, the house I allow her to rent." "Yes, Your Grace." "Why are you bathing in my lake instead of your own home?" Shame burned through Pippa. She could not tell him the truth. She could not say that her stepmother and stepsisters treated her worse than a servant, that she slept in the attic, that she ate scraps, that she was nothing but a burden they wished would disappear. I like to walk in the mornings," she lied. "I got too warm." Liar. The word was soft but sharp. "You're covered in bruises. Your chemise is more holes than fabric. You're not bathing for pleasure. You're washing because you have no other choice." Tears stung her eyes. She looked down at the water. "Please let me go. I won't come back." "The water is mine," he said slowly. "By law, everything in it belongs to me as well." He paused. "That includes you." Pippa's head snapped up. "What?" "You are trespassing on my land, using my resources. By rights, I could have you arrested." His face showed no emotion. "Or I could claim compensation." "I have nothing to give you." "No." He studied her for a long moment. "But your stepmother does. She owes me 6 months of rent. I've been patient. Perhaps this is how she'll pay." "I don't understand." "Get dressed. Come to Ravenswood Hall tomorrow at noon. I'll send a carriage." He turned back to his horse. "If you don't come, I'll evict your entire family. Every debt will be called. Your stepmother will be ruined." "Why are you doing this?" Pippa's voice broke. He mounted his horse. For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Pain, maybe. Or loneliness. Then it was gone. "Because the water is mine," he repeated. "And now, so are you." He rode away, leaving Pippa shaking in the lake. She stumbled to shore and pulled on her patched dress. Her fingers fumbled with the buttons. Her mind raced with fear. What did he mean? What did he want from her? The walk back to the manor house took an hour. The sun climbed higher. By the time she reached the kitchen door, her dress had dried, but her fear had not. "Where have you been?" Her stepsister Dorothea stood in the doorway. She was pretty in a sharp way, with blonde hair and cold blue eyes. "Mother wants her breakfast." "I'll prepare it now." "You're late." "She's in a mood." Dorothea smiled cruelly. "You know what that means." Pippa did know. It meant her stepmother would find reasons to criticize everything. It meant going to bed hungry. It meant harsh words and perhaps a slap. She hurried to the kitchen. The cook, Mrs. Ellis, was the only person who showed her any kindness. The old woman looked up from the stove. "There you are, child. I saved you some bread from yesterday." "Thank you." Pippa took the hard crust gratefully. "I need to prepare Lady Margaret's tray." "She's been ringing that bell for half an hour. Better hurry." Pippa prepared the breakfast tray with shaking hands. Tea, toast, eggs, jam. She carried it up the stairs to her stepmother's room. She knocked softly. "Enter." Lady Margaret sat at her dressing table. She was a handsome woman of 40, with auburn hair and a straight spine. She had married Pippa's father for his modest fortune. When he died 2 years ago, she had kept everything. Pippa, at 19, had been left with nothing. "You're late." Lady Margaret did not turn around. "I'm sorry, Mother." "Don't call me that. I'm not your mother." She examined her reflection. "Put the tray down, then come here." Pippa obeyed. She stood behind her stepmother, eyes down. "The Duke of Ravenswood has invited us to dinner next week." Lady Margaret's voice was thoughtful. "All of us, including you." Pippa's heart sank. So he had already sent word. "Dorothea will wear her blue gown. Millicent will wear the pink. You will stay in the kitchen where you belong." She finally turned. "Unless he specifically asks for you, which would be strange. Why would a duke notice someone like you?" "I don't know, madam." "You're plain. You're too thin. Your hair is like a crow's wing. You have nothing to recommend you." Lady Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Have you done something? Have you put yourself in his path?" "No, madam." "See that you don't. Dorothea has hopes of catching his eye. She's beautiful enough. Perhaps he's ready to remarry." She waved her hand. "Leave me, and tell cook I want my lunch early today." Pippa fled the room. She spent the rest of the day working. She scrubbed floors, she beat carpets, she polished silver. She did everything she was told. Her mind kept returning to the Duke's words. "You are mine now." What could he possibly want? Night fell. Pippa climbed to her attic room. It was small and cold, with one narrow bed and a cracked mirror. She sat on the bed and let herself cry. Not loud sobs that might be heard, just silent tears that soaked into her thin pillow. She had been happy once, before her mother died, before her father remarried, before the world became this cold, cruel place. She remembered her father's laugh, her mother's gentle hands, the feeling of being loved. Now she had nothing, no one. And tomorrow she had to face a duke who thought he owned her. Sleep came late and brought no comfort. The next morning, Pippa woke before dawn. She washed her face with water from a chipped pitcher. She brushed her hair until it shone. She put on her only good dress. It was grey and patched, but clean. At noon, a carriage arrived. It was black and gleaming, with the Ravenswood crest on the door. A footman stepped down. "Miss Pippa Thornwell?" "Yes." "His Grace requests your presence." Lady Margaret appeared on the front steps. Her face was a mask of confusion and fury. "What is the meaning of this?" "I don't know, madam." Pippa's voice was small. "Get in that carriage, and do not embarrass this family." Lady Margaret's whisper was vicious. "Whatever he wants, you give it to him. Do you understand? We cannot afford to anger him." Pippa climbed into the carriage. The door closed. The horses moved forward. The drive to Ravenswood Hall took 20 minutes. The estate was vast. Rolling fields, ancient forests, and finally, the hall itself. It was enormous, built of grey stone with hundreds of windows. It looked cold and imposing. The carriage stopped at the main entrance. The footman helped her down. A butler appeared, elderly and stern. "Miss Thornwell, please follow me." She walked through marble halls, past priceless paintings, under crystal chandeliers. Her worn boots squeaked on the polished floors. She felt like an imposter. The butler stopped at a large door. He knocked once. "Enter." That deep voice again. The door opened. Pippa stepped inside. It was a study. Books lined the walls. A fire burned in the hearth. Behind a massive desk sat the Duke. He looked different in daylight inside. Still harsh, still cold, but also tired. There were shadows under his grey eyes, lines around his mouth. He looked like a man who did not sleep well. "Sit." He gestured to a chair. Pippa sat. She folded her hands in her lap. She waited. He studied her for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the window. His back was to her. "I need a wife," he said bluntly. Pippa's breath caught. "I have no interest in love. I have no interest in society's games. I've spent 3 years being hunted by ambitious mothers and their daughters. I'm tired of it." He turned to face her. "You need protection, security, a way out of your stepmother's house." "You want to marry me?" Her voice was barely audible. "Yes." "But why? You don't know me. I'm no one. I have no family, no fortune, nothing to offer." "Exactly." He walked back to his desk. "You have no expectations, no demands. You won't expect love or affection. You won't make emotional claims on my time or my heart." His face was stone. "You'll be my duchess in name. You'll manage my household, appear at my side when necessary. In return, you'll have security, comfort, and freedom from your current situation." "That's all?" Something felt wrong. "You want nothing else?" "I want an heir, eventually." His voice was flat. "But there's no rush. We can be civil to each other. That's all I require." Pippa looked at her hands. It was a cold proposition, loveless, practical, everything a girl dreams a marriage should not be. But what were her other options? Stay with Lady Margaret until she died or was thrown out? Become a governess if she was lucky? Starve if she was not? "If I say no?" "Then you go back. I'll give your stepmother more time on the rent. You'll never see me again." He sat down. "But the offer expires when you leave this room." "Why me?" She met his eyes. "Truly, why?" For the first time, something human crossed his face. "Because you were in my lake. Because I've been dead inside for 3 years. Because nothing matters anymore, and you look like nothing matters to you either." He paused. Maybe 2 broken people can build something functional, if not happy. It was the saddest proposal she had ever imagined. It was also honest. "I accept," Pippa whispered. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or relief. "We'll marry in 3 days. I'll send for your things. You'll stay here until then. My housekeeper will help you prepare." He picked up a pen. "You should know. I won't pretend to love you. I won't lie about my feelings. But I'll never raise my hand to you. I'll never let anyone harm you. You'll be safe here." "Thank you, Your Grace." "Call me Nathaniel when we're alone. You'll be my wife." He returned to his papers. "The housekeeper will show you to your rooms." Pippa stood. She walked to the door. Then she stopped. "Your Grace? Nathaniel?" "Yes?" "I'll try to be a good wife, even without love. I'll try." He looked up. For just a second his face softened. "I know." The door closed behind her. 3 days later, Pippa became the Duchess of Ravenswood. The wedding was small. Just the vicar, 2 witnesses and a handful of servants. No guests, no celebration. It was cold and quick. Lady Margaret had sent a vicious letter. She called Pippa ungrateful, said she had been seducing the Duke all along, claimed she would tell everyone how Pippa had trapped him. Nathaniel had read the letter, then thrown it in the fire. "You're free of her now." The wedding night, Pippa stood in a beautiful bedroom. It connected to Nathaniel's through a door. The door was closed. A maid had helped her into a nightgown. It was fine white linen, far nicer than anything she had ever worn. She sat on the edge of the enormous bed and waited. Would he come through that door? Would he expect his rights as a husband? An hour passed, then another. Finally, there was a soft knock. "Come in," she called. Nathaniel entered. He was in a dark robe. His hair was damp from washing. He looked uncomfortable. "I wanted to speak with you." He stayed near the door. "I meant what I said. There's no rush for the physical aspects of marriage. We barely know each other. I won't force myself on you." Relief and something else flooded through her. "Thank you. But we should try to be friendly. We'll be living together. We should at least be able to talk." He took a step closer. "Tell me something about yourself. Something real." Pippa thought. "I love to read. My father had a small library. I read every book twice. Poetry, history, novels. It was my escape. There's a library here, 3 rooms full. You may use it whenever you wish." He almost smiled. "What else?" "I like to walk in the mornings, before the world wakes up. Everything feels peaceful then. I ride early for the same reason." He paused. "You can walk the grounds any time. They're yours now." "What about you?" She felt brave. "Tell me something real." He was quiet for a long moment. "I'm lonely. I have been for 3 years. This house is full of servants and it feels empty. I thought, maybe having someone here would help, even if it's just an arrangement." "I understand lonely," Pippa said softly. Their eyes met across the room. 2 broken people. 2 empty souls. "Good night, Pippa." "Good night, Nathaniel." He left. The door closed. Pippa lay down in her beautiful bed. She should feel happy. She was a duchess now. She was safe, fed, warm. But she felt alone. Just like her husband in the next room. The days began to form a pattern. Pippa woke early. She walked the gardens. Nathaniel rode his horse. They met for breakfast in a small dining room. They spoke of simple things: the weather, the estate, plans for the day. He was not cruel. He was not cold in the way Lady Margaret had been. He was simply absent, present in body but empty in spirit. Pippa took over household management. The housekeeper, Mrs. Davis, was kind and patient. She showed Pippa the accounts, the schedules, the responsibilities. "His Grace needs you," Mrs. Davis said one day. "He doesn't know it yet, but he does. This house has been dark too long." Pippa wanted to help, but she did not know how. She spent hours in the library, 3 rooms of floor-to-ceiling books, poetry, philosophy, novels, histories. It was heaven. One evening, Nathaniel found her there. She was curled in a chair by the fire, reading. "What are you reading?" He stood in the doorway. She showed him the cover. "Shakespeare's sonnets." "Do you like them?" "Very much, though they're sad. So much longing and loss." He walked closer. "Read me your favorite." Pippa felt her cheeks warm, but she found the page and read aloud. Her voice was soft and clear. The words spoke of love that endures even in absence. When she finished, Nathaniel was quiet. He stared into the fire. "My wife loved poetry," he said finally. "Catherine. She died of a fever. It was sudden. One day she was laughing, reading to me. 3 days later, she was gone." "I'm sorry." Pippa closed the book. She was everything. Light, warmth, joy. When she died, she took all of it with her. He looked at Pippa. I don't expect to feel that again. I don't want to. It hurt too much to lose her. So you married me? Someone you can't lose because you never had me? Yes. His honesty was brutal. Is that cruel? No, Pippa stood. It's honest. I prefer honesty to false kindness. She walked past him toward the door. Then she stopped. But you should know something, Nathaniel. You're not the only one who lost everything. You're not the only one who stopped believing in warmth and light. She turned to face him. Maybe we're both hiding. Maybe we're both too afraid to live again. She left him there, staring after her. That night, Pippa could not sleep. She put on a robe and walked through the quiet house. She ended up in the music room. A beautiful pianoforte sat by the window. She had not played in years. Lady Margaret had sold her mother's piano. Pippa sat down. Her fingers found the keys. She played from memory, a simple melody her mother had taught her. It was sad and sweet and full of longing. She did not hear Nathaniel enter the room. When she finished, she found him standing in the shadows. That was beautiful. His voice was rough. Where did you learn? My mother. Before she died. I was 10. Pippa touched the keys gently. Music was our language. When words weren't enough, we played for each other. Play something else. She played another piece, then another. He sat in a chair and listened. The music filled the empty spaces between them. When she finally stopped, the clock showed past midnight. Thank you, Nathaniel said. I haven't heard music in this house in a long time. You could have hired musicians. It wouldn't have been the same. He stood. Play any time you wish. Every night if you want. I'll listen. It became their routine. Pippa played. Nathaniel listened. They did not speak much, but the silence felt less empty. Days turned to weeks. Spring arrived with warm sun and blooming flowers. The estate came alive with colour. Pippa transformed the house. She opened curtains that had been closed for years. She brought in fresh flowers. She asked Mrs. Davies to light fires in rooms that had been abandoned. The servants noticed. They began to smile more. The house felt lighter. One morning at breakfast, Nathaniel looked up from his papers. You've changed things. Pippa's hand froze with her teacup. I'm sorry. I should have asked. I'll change it back. No. He set down his papers. It's good. The house needed it. I just hadn't noticed how dark everything had become. The curtains were heavy. The rooms were closed. It felt like a tomb. It was a tomb. I made it one. He met her eyes. Thank you for bringing it back to life. It was the kindest thing he had said to her. That afternoon, Pippa was arranging flowers in the main hall when Nathaniel appeared. Come with me. I want to show you something. He led her outside to the stables. A beautiful mare stood waiting. She was chestnut with a white star on her forehead. She's gentle. She's yours if you want her. You said you like morning walks. You could ride instead. See more of the estate. Pippa approached the mare carefully. She had ridden as a child, but it had been years. She's beautiful. Her name is Primrose. Try her. A groom helped Pippa mount. Nathaniel mounted his black stallion. They rode together through the fields. The wind in her face felt like freedom. The sun on her shoulders felt like hope. For the first time in years, Pippa laughed. Nathaniel heard the sound. He looked over at her. Something shifted in his expression. His grey eyes warmed. You should laugh more, he said. It suits you. They rode for an hour. When they returned to the stables, Nathaniel helped her dismount. His hands were strong and sure on her waist. For a moment, they stood close. Thank you, Pippa said softly. For the horse, for the ride, for everything. You don't have to thank me. You're my wife. This is your home too. But the way he said wife had changed. It was softer now, less like a contract and more like something real. That evening they dined together, not in the formal dining room but in the small parlor. Candlelight and good food and easy conversation. Nathaniel told her about the estate, the tenants, the farms, the village. He asked her opinions. He listened to her ideas. You care about people, he observed. You notice when someone is struggling. I've been struggling. I know how it feels. Tell me about your father. You've never spoken of him. Pippa's throat tightened. He was kind, gentle. He loved my mother desperately. When she died, he was lost. I think he married Lady Margaret because he couldn't bear being alone. But she wasn't kind. She wasn't warm. He knew it was a mistake, but he was too weak to change it. And when he died? She kept everything. The law gave her that right. I had nothing. I thought about running away, but where would I go? I had no skills, no references. So I stayed and endured. Nathaniel reached across the table. He covered her hand with his. You'll never endure that again, I promise you. His touch was warm. It made her heart beat faster. Why are you being so kind to me? She whispered. I thought this was just an arrangement. So did I. He pulled his hand back. But you're not what I expected. You're stronger than you seem. You're changing everything without even trying. Is that bad? No. He stood abruptly. It's terrifying. He left the room quickly. Pippa sat alone, her hand still warm from his touch. Something was changing between them. She felt it like spring melting winter, slow and inevitable and frightening, because she was beginning to care for him. Not just gratitude, not just respect. She was beginning to want his smiles, his attention, his presence. She was beginning to fall in love with her cold, broken Duke. And that was not part of their arrangement. The next few days were strange. Nathaniel seemed to avoid her. He took his meals in his study. He rode early and returned late. He stopped coming to hear her play music. Pippa felt the loss keenly. She told herself it did not matter. This was what she had agreed to. Distance, politeness, nothing more. But her heart ached anyway. Mrs. Davies noticed. His Grace is troubled, my lady. He's fighting something inside himself. Fighting what? The older woman smiled gently. I think he's realizing that his heart isn't as dead as he thought, and it frightens him. I don't understand. He cares for you. I see it in how he looks at you when you're not watching, how he asks about your day, how he made sure Primrose was the gentlest horse. Mrs. Davies patted Pippa's hand. Give him time. He's been in darkness so long. The light hurts his eyes. That night, Pippa could not sleep. She walked through the house to the library. She needed the comfort of books. But when she opened the library door, Nathaniel was there. He stood by the fire, a glass of brandy in his hand. I'm sorry, I'll leave. Pippa turned to go. Don't. Please. His voice stopped her. I've been a coward, avoiding you. Why? He drained his glass, set it down hard. Because you make me feel again, and I don't want to feel. Feeling leads to pain. Not always. Always. He turned to face her. I loved Catherine. I loved her with everything I had. When she died, it destroyed me. I swore I'd never let anyone that close again, never risk that pain. So you married me, someone safe, someone who wouldn't touch your heart. Yes. He took a step toward her. But you're not safe. You're dangerous. You make me laugh. You make this house feel like a home. You make me want things I swore I'd never want again. Pippa's breath caught. What things? Companionship. Warmth. Someone to talk to in the dark. Another step. Someone to wake up beside. Someone to share the days with. Someone to care about. He stood close now, so close she could feel the heat of him. "I'm angry at you," he said roughly, "for making me care, for making me hope, for making me want to live again instead of just exist." "I'm sorry." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "You haven't hurt me." His hand came up to her face. His thumb brushed away a tear. "You're healing me, and healing hurts." "What do we do now?" Her voice was barely audible. "I don't know." His grey eyes were full of conflict. "I'm still afraid. I'm still angry at the world. I'm still grieving." "I know. But I want to try, with you, to be more than two broken people living under one roof." His hand cupped her cheek. "I want to be your husband, truly, if you'll have me." "Yes." The word came out as a sob. "Yes." He pulled her close, his arms wrapped around her. She buried her face against his chest. She felt his heart beating strong and steady. They stood like that for a long time, just holding each other. Two damaged souls finding comfort in the darkness. When Pippa finally pulled back, Nathaniel's face had changed. The harsh lines were softer, the cold eyes were warm. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "I don't know how to love someone again. I'm going to make mistakes." "So will I. We'll learn together." He smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "When did you become so wise?" "When I married a stubborn duke who needed someone to fight for him." He laughed. The sound filled the library. It was the most beautiful sound Pippa had ever heard. He kissed her forehead gently. "Come, let's go to bed. Together this time." They walked to their rooms hand in hand. The connecting door stayed open. That night, Nathaniel held her while she slept. It was chaste and sweet and full of promise. For the first time in 3 years, he slept peacefully. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Pippa felt loved. The weeks that followed were the happiest of Pippa's life. She and Nathaniel were together constantly. They rode every morning. They managed the estate as partners. They dined together, laughed together, talked late into the night. He told her about his childhood, his strict father who had demanded perfection, his gentle mother who had died when he was young, his loneliness in a house full of expectations. She told him about the joy of her early years and the pain of losing it all, the cruelty she had endured, the way she had learned to make herself small and invisible. "You're not invisible anymore," he said fiercely. "You're the brightest thing in my life." He began to touch her more, a hand on her waist, fingers brushing her hair, kisses that started gentle and became passionate. Their marriage became real in every way. Pippa bloomed under his attention. She wore pretty dresses now. She styled her hair. She laughed freely and spoke her mind. The servants adored her. The tenants respected her. The village called her their angel. And Nathaniel looked at her like she had hung the moon. "I love you," he said one night as they lay in bed. "I didn't think I could, but I do. Desperately." "I love you too," she kissed him. "You saved me." "No, we saved each other." 2 months into their marriage, Nathaniel announced they would go to London for the season. "I want to show you off," he said. "I want the world to know that the Duke of Ravenswood has the most beautiful, kind, intelligent wife in all of England." Pippa was nervous. She had never been to London. She knew nothing of society. "They'll judge me. They'll say I'm not good enough for you." "Let them try." His voice was hard. "You're a duchess. You're my duchess. Anyone who disrespects you will answer to me." They travelled to London in late April. The townhouse was elegant and lovely. Nathaniel showed her the sights, the theatre, the parks, the shops. He bought her gowns in every colour, jewels that sparkled, gloves and fans and everything a duchess should have. "You're spending too much," she protested. "I'm making up for lost time. Let me spoil you." Their first ball was terrifying. Hundreds of people in glittering clothes, all eyes turned to them when they entered. Whispers followed. "That's the Duke of Ravenswood, and his new wife. Where did she come from? Who is she?" Nathaniel kept her close. His hand on her back was protective and possessive. "They're curious. Ignore them. You're spectacular." Pippa wore a gown of deep emerald silk. Her dark hair was swept up with diamond pins. She looked every inch a duchess. But inside, she felt like the girl in the attic. Until Nathaniel led her onto the dance floor. He waltzed with her like she was precious. He smiled at her like she was his world. And slowly, Pippa's confidence grew. After the dance, ladies approached her. Some were kind, curious about the new duchess. Others were cold, clearly jealous. Then Lady Margaret appeared. Pippa's blood turned to ice. Her stepmother wore an expensive gown. Dorothea stood beside her, beautiful and smiling. "Pippa, how unexpected to see you here." Lady Margaret's voice dripped false sweetness. "I heard you married the Duke. Quite a surprise." "Lady Margaret." Pippa's voice was steady despite her fear. "You've done well for yourself. I always knew you had ambition." The words were poisonous. "Tell me, how did you trap him? What lies did you tell?" "I told no lies." Pippa lifted her chin. "Really? Did you tell him about your mother? How she was a merchant's daughter? How your blood is common?" Lady Margaret smiled. "Did you tell him how you schemed and planned? How you threw yourself in his path?" "That's enough." Nathaniel appeared at Pippa's side. His voice was ice. "You will not speak to my wife that way." "Your Grace, I meant no offense. I'm simply concerned. Pippa has always been difficult, prone to manipulation." "The only manipulation I see is from you." Nathaniel's grey eyes were storm clouds. "I know exactly what you did to her, how you treated her, the cruelty she endured." Lady Margaret paled. "You made her sleep in the attic. You starved her. You worked her like a servant. You tried to break her spirit." His voice got quieter and more dangerous. "You failed. She's stronger than you'll ever be. She's filled your head with lies. She's told me nothing but truth, which is more than you've ever done." He stepped closer. "Hear me clearly. You will never speak to her again. You will not approach her. You will not spread rumors about her. If I hear that you've caused her even a moment of distress, I will ruin you, completely and utterly. Do you understand?" Lady Margaret's face was red. "You can't threaten me." "That's not a threat. It's a promise." He turned to Dorothea. "That applies to you as well. Stay away from my wife." He took Pippa's arm and led her away. She was shaking. "I'm sorry," he said when they were alone. "I should have warned you she might be here." "Thank you," Pippa looked up at him, "for defending me." "Always." He kissed her hand. "You're mine to protect, and I take that very seriously." They left the ball early. In the carriage, Nathaniel held her close. "She can't hurt you anymore. I won't let her." But fear had taken root in Pippa's heart. What if Lady Margaret was right? What if her blood wasn't good enough? What if society rejected her? What if Nathaniel eventually saw her as the burden everyone else did? "Stop thinking." Nathaniel tipped her chin up. "I can see the doubt in your eyes. There's no reason for it. I love you. That doesn't change because of your birth or your past. But what if—" "No," he kissed her. "No what-ifs. We're together. That's all that matters." But Pippa couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was coming. She was right. A week later, the rumors started. Whispers at parties, looks in the park, articles in gossip papers. The new Duchess of Ravenswood. Who is she really? What scandal is she hiding? Someone had been spreading lies. That Pippa was a fortune hunter. That she had seduced the Duke. That her family was disreputable. It didn't matter that none of it was true. Society loved scandal. Invitations stopped coming. Women turned their backs when Pippa entered rooms. Men smirked and whispered. Nathaniel was furious. He confronted every person he caught spreading lies. He defended Pippa publicly and privately. But the damage was done. One morning, Pippa came down to breakfast to find Nathaniel reading a newspaper. His face was white with anger. "What is it?" she asked. He handed her the paper without a word. The headline read, "Duchess of Ravenswood, Common Blood, Common Morals." The article was vicious. It claimed Pippa had been caught bathing naked in the Duke's lake, that she had deliberately seduced him, that her mother was a merchant's daughter who had married above her station. Every word was designed to humiliate. Pippa set the paper down carefully. "It's true, most of it. My mother was a merchant's daughter. I was bathing in your lake." "I don't care about any of that." Nathaniel's voice shook. "Who did this? Who would spread this filth?" "It doesn't matter." "It does. Someone is trying to hurt you, to hurt us." "Nathaniel," Pippa reached for his hand. "Maybe we should go back to the country, away from all this." "No, that would be admitting defeat, letting them win." "But I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of defending myself. I'm tired of being the scandal." "You're not the scandal. They are. Small-minded, cruel people with nothing better to do than tear others down." He pulled her into his arms. "We'll weather this, together." But Pippa wasn't sure they could. That evening they attended a dinner. It was at the home of an important earl. Refusing would have been an insult. The moment they arrived, Pippa felt the hostility. Cold stares, whispered comments. At dinner, she was seated far from Nathaniel. The women around her barely spoke to her. When they did, their words were barbed. "Tell me, Duchess, how does one go from an attic to a palace? It's quite a journey. Did you really learn to read, or do you have the Duke read to you? I hear your stepmother is quite mortified by your behavior. Poor woman." Pippa endured it with her head high. She smiled politely. She answered with grace. But inside, she was dying. After dinner, Nathaniel found her on the terrace. She was alone, staring at the dark garden. "What did they say to you?" His voice was tight. "Nothing that matters." "Pippa, tell me." She turned to face him. Tears streamed down her face. "They said I'm not good enough for you, that I'll never be a proper duchess, that you'll regret marrying someone like me." "That's not true." "But what if it is? What if I can never fit in? What if I embarrass you? What if your world would be better without me in it?" "Stop!" He grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You brought me back to life. You made me remember how to feel, how to love, how to be human. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they think. You're my wife. You're my heart, and I will burn this entire city down before I let them hurt you." "But—" "No, there's no but. We're leaving London, tonight. We're going home, and we're never coming back if you don't want to." "What about your responsibilities? Your seat in Parliament? Your business?" "None of it matters without you." He wiped her tears. "Don't you understand? You're everything. The rest is just noise." They left that night, packed quickly, and took a carriage in the darkness, away from London, away from society, away from the cruelty. They rode through the night. Pippa fell asleep against Nathaniel's shoulder. He held her and watched the darkness pass. He had never been angrier. He had never felt more protective. Someone had done this. Someone had deliberately tried to destroy Pippa, and he was going to find out who. They arrived at Ravenswood Hall at dawn. The familiar sight of the estate made Pippa's heart ease. "Home," she whispered. "Home," Nathaniel agreed. They slept most of the day, exhausted from travel and emotion. When Pippa woke, Nathaniel was gone. Mrs. Davies said he had ridden out to the village. He returned at sunset with his face set in grim satisfaction. "I know who spread the rumors," he said. "I have proof." "Who?" "Dorothea, your stepsister." He handed her a packet of letters. "She wrote to several society gossips. She provided the details about your mother, your past, everything. She's been trying to ruin you." Pippa wasn't surprised. Dorothea had always been jealous. "What will you do?" "What do you want me to do?" Pippa thought for a long moment. "Nothing. Let her be. Revenge won't heal anything. It won't change what happened." "She tried to destroy you." "And she failed. I'm still here. I'm still your wife. I'm still happy." Pippa took his hands. "Let's just be done with them. All of them. Let's build our life here and forget the rest." Nathaniel studied her face. "You're more forgiving than I am." "No. I'm just done carrying hate. It's too heavy." He pulled her close. "You're extraordinary. You know that? I know I love you. That's all I need to know." They stood together in the fading light. Two people who had found each other against all odds. The next weeks were healing. Pippa spent time in the gardens. She played music again. She visited tenants and helped in the village. Nathaniel never left her side. He showed her every corner of the estate. He taught her to fish in his lake. Yes, the same lake where they had met. "I should thank this lake," he said one morning as they stood by the water. "It brought you to me. I was terrified that day. I thought you would have me arrested. I was angry, but also fascinated. You looked like a water nymph, sad and beautiful and utterly out of place." He smiled. "I told myself I was claiming you for practical reasons, but the truth is, I wanted you from that first moment." "Really? Really? I just didn't know it yet." He pulled her into his arms. "The water is mine, and so are you. But you also have me. All of me. Forever." He kissed her with the sun on their faces and the water sparkling beside them. In the distance, Mrs. Davies watched from the house and smiled. "About time," she murmured. That evening, Pippa and Nathaniel walked through the halls of Ravenswood. The curtains were open. Flowers filled every room. Light spilled from every window. "Remember when you first came here?" Nathaniel asked. "This house was dark and cold." "Like its master," Pippa teased. "Exactly, but you changed everything. You brought light back." "We changed each other." He stopped at the portrait gallery. Catherine's portrait hung there, a beautiful young woman with fair hair and a sweet smile. Pippa had never been jealous of her. How could she be? Catherine had been gone so long. "She would have liked you," Nathaniel said quietly. "She would have been glad that I found happiness again." "Do you still miss her?" "Sometimes, but it's different now. It doesn't hurt the same way. The grief is softer, like an old scar instead of an open wound." He turned to Pippa. "You didn't replace her. You gave me something new, something just as precious but entirely different." "I'm glad." Pippa touched his face. "You deserve to be happy." "So do you, and I'm going to spend every day making sure you are." A month later, Pippa realized she was pregnant. She told Nathaniel one morning at breakfast. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood up, walked around the table, and swept her into his arms. "Really? A baby?" "Really?" she laughed. "Are you happy?" "Happy? I'm terrified and thrilled and more grateful than I can say." He set her down gently. "Are you all right? Do you need anything? Should you rest?" "I'm fine. It's very early still. I'm going to take care of you. You won't lift a finger." "Nathaniel, I'm having a baby, not dying." But he insisted. He fussed over her constantly. He brought her tea. He made her rest. He worried about every little thing. It was endearing and maddening in equal measure. Mrs. Davies laughed at them both. First-time parents, always the worst. The estate rejoiced at the news. The servants were thrilled. The tenants brought gifts. The village celebrated. Pippa had never felt so loved. As her belly grew, Nathaniel became even more protective. He read parenting books. He prepared a nursery. He talked to the baby every night. "You're going to be so loved," he whispered to her stomach. "You're going to have everything. A mother who's kind and strong, a father who'll protect you, a home full of warmth." Pippa ran her fingers through his hair. "You're going to be a wonderful father." "I hope so. I want to be better than mine was. I want our child to know they're loved every single day." "They will. I promise." One evening, Nathaniel took Pippa back to the lake, the same lake where they had met. "I've been thinking," he said, "about that morning, about what I said to you." "That I was yours?" "Yes. It was cruel and arrogant, I'm sorry." "Don't be. You weren't entirely wrong," Pippa smiled. "I did become yours, but you also became mine. We claimed each other." "I like that better." He kissed her. "Equal partners, equal love. Always." They stood by the water as the sun set. Pippa's hand rested on her growing belly. Nathaniel's arms wrapped around her from behind. "Do you remember being scared and alone?" he asked softly. "Yes. You'll never be either again, I promise." "I know, and you'll never be cold and empty again. I promise that too." The water sparkled in the fading light. A gentle wind rustled the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang. It was the same place where their story had begun, where a desperate girl had been caught bathing, where a cold duke had made an arrogant claim. But it was different now. They were different. They were healed. They were whole. They were home. And they were loved. The baby came in early spring, a healthy, perfect daughter with dark hair and grey eyes. They named her Catherine Rose, for the woman who had loved first and the hope of new beginnings. Nathaniel held his daughter with tears streaming down his face. "She's perfect. You're perfect. I love you so much." Pippa watched her husband become a father and fell in love with him all over again. The estate celebrated for days. The tenants brought gifts. The servants cooed over the baby. Mrs. Davies declared it the happiest day of her life. Even from the village, they heard that Lady Margaret was furious, that Dorothea had married poorly, that both were struggling financially. Nathaniel had quietly ensured they received no help from anyone in the county. It wasn't revenge, exactly, just natural consequences for cruelty. Pippa didn't care about them anymore. Her life was too full of joy to hold room for old pain. She watched Nathaniel rock their daughter to sleep every night. She heard him sing lullabies in his deep voice. She saw him become the father he had always wanted to be. And she knew they had won. Not against society or family or cruel people. They had won against loneliness, against despair, against the belief that broken people couldn't be made whole. They had found each other in a lake of cold water on a desperate morning, and they had built a love that would warm them forever. Years later, when their children asked how they met, Pippa and Nathaniel would exchange knowing smiles. "Your father caught me bathing in his lake," Pippa would say. "And I told her she was mine," Nathaniel would add. "But really," Pippa would finish, "we saved each other. And that's the greatest love story of all." The children would groan at the romance of it, but they would grow up knowing they were loved, that their parents had fought for each other, that true love was real and worth fighting for. And sometimes, on warm spring mornings, Nathaniel and Pippa would walk to their lake. They would hold hands and remember. A frightened girl, a cold duke, a moment that changed everything. "The water is mine," Nathaniel would say softly. "And so am I," Pippa would reply. "No." He would turn her to face him. "We're each other's. Always." "Always," she would agree. And they would stand together by the water that had brought them together, grateful for every moment, every struggle, every joy. Because their story wasn't just about a duke who caught a girl bathing. It was about two broken hearts learning to beat as one. It was about choosing love when the world offered only coldness. It was about finding home in another person's arms. It was about happily ever after, earned through pain and faith and refusing to give up on each other. And it was real.